named Ruby along with her husband named Kevin. Over the years, they have grown to be one of the most notorious family vlogging channels on YouTube. At the height of their career, they have gained over 2 million subscribers. But along with the success came many controversies. While many already having concerns about the ethics of family vlogging, Ruby has received a lot of criticism for some of her parenting decisions that she showcased on her channel, leading her to being widely disliked and labeled as overly strict, controlling, and exploitative of her children and their privacy.
I have 4 walls in the bathroom. That gives privacy. When my child begins using those 4 walls to do things that are deceptive, they lose the privilege of privacy. Why? Because they're not concerned about privacy.
After receiving so much backlash over the past year, Ruby has stopped uploading to her YouTube channel and took things into a new direction. The good news is that she decided to no longer film her children, but the relief of knowing that might be short-lived after realizing what she is involved with now, because it is somehow even worse. However, it does seem like the consequences are starting to catch up with Ruby, as there tends to be several public fallouts between her and her family and relationships, including at least one of her children no longer associating with her. As the years go on for family vlogging channels, this could provide a glimpse of what the outcome may be for those who have been taking advantage of their children for fame and fortune. We are beginning to see children grow up and distance themselves from their parents, who now have to come to terms with the fact that their family is falling apart. For those of you who have been following me for a minute, this is not the first time that I have talked about 8 Passengers, and you may remember me discussing them in previous videos where I discuss family vlog channels. The only difference is that this time I will only be focusing on 8 Passengers because I believe they set an example of what is to come for several other family vlogging channels on this website. Before we continue this video though, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Scentbird. Scentbird is a subscription service for fragrances, allowing you to try out new perfumes and colognes every month for just $17. Scentbird carries designer brands like Prada, Gucci, and Versace, while also carrying indie brands such as Skylar and Heretic as well. There's also a pretty big change when it comes to their packaging. The bottles would look like this, where it would just pop up like this. Now they have a brand new design, which I absolutely love. The texture is now this really nice matte finish, and also the casing is magnetic. It feels a lot more secure, and all you have to do when you want to take your perfume out to see which perfume you're using, you could just do that, and then when you're ready to use it, you just pop it back into place like that. What I really like about it is it has this locking system on it, so if you have it in your bag and you're on the go and you're afraid of it spilling out or anything like that, it's not going anywhere. It's nice, it's secure, and when you want to use it, all you have to do is unlock it like that, and you're ready to go. And if you're wondering, this is actually English Laundry signature for her. Speaking of which, my next scent that was sent to me is also by English Laundry, but this one is called Oxford Blue Femme. I really like this. This is a nice everyday perfume, and this one is as well. I have 2 more scents. Versace Crystal Noir. Now, personally, I actually prefer Versace's Bright Crystal to this one, but that's actually why I really like Scentbird, because it gives you a chance to try new things and find out whether or not you like them before committing to that full-size bottle. Last but not least, we have Ash by Ashley Benson, the 8th. If you would like to give Scentbird a try for yourself, be sure to check out Scentbird.com and use code TAMIMI3 for 55% off. That's just a little over $7 for your first month. Be sure to check my links down in the description and the pinned comment section below. Thank you so much to Scentbird for sponsoring yet another video and supporting this channel. And with that being said, let's get back to today's topic. It is now the holiday season, and I would like to introduce you to Stu, who is going to be our emotional support cactus for this entire month of December while we talk about things that make us dead on the inside. With that being said, in today's topic, we are going to be discussing a family vlogging channel that has somehow gotten so much worse than just the usual family vlogging stuff and has turned into an entire train wreck. When it comes to 8 Passengers, a lot of people have discussed their concerns about the channel not just for exploiting their children, but being extraordinarily strict to a point of it being disgusting. One example of this extreme strictness, we'll call it, is the way that she treated her daughter when she forgot to bring her lunch to school.
Just got a text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? This happens quite often when you're raising children, because I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch, and it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch. But I responded and just said Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry.
Ruby explained that she was not going to do this because this was a lesson that her daughter needed to learn. Her daughter was supposed to pack her own lunches, and if she forgot to pack a lunch, that was supposed to be an example for her to realize, I shouldn't forget to do that again in the future.
And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
Maybe if they were older, it would be a little bit different if you're trying to set an example, but it's really, really harsh for a 6-year-old. 6-year-olds are what, in kindergarten? When you're learning ABCs? That's really messed up. Now, apparently there was an interview that her and her husband took part in where Ruby said that the school was 45 minutes away and she found this out about 2 hours before school was over. My problem with this is I think that excuse is bullshit. Your child still went a full school day without anything to eat, unless somebody ended up giving her food. It's not the fact that she only had 2 hours left of school before coming home, which really it would be closer to 3 hours if you include the 2 hours left of school, probably the 10 to 15 minutes it takes to get onto the bus if she takes the bus, or to get her things and get in the car to come home, and then the 45-minute drive home. That's closer to 3 hours, number one. Number two, you're still going a whole day without eating up until that point. And number three, have you ever been really, really hungry at lunch? You see everybody else eating and you don't have a lunch, and you have to think to yourself, damn, I have to wait 3 more hours to eat anything? What irritates me so much about Ruby's parenting is the fact that she treats nearly everything like a privilege.
I'm only gonna say it one more time, and then you're gonna lose the privilege to eat dinner.
Meanwhile, while treating them all this way, she's using them for content for her YouTube channel, which, as she admits, she has made millions of dollars from. She herself had said that.
And I'm telling you, I was making millions.
If you don't want to parent your kids and be a parent for your kids, which includes providing food, bedding, clothing for them, then you shouldn't be a parent. That's just my opinion. But things actually got worse during this time because along with this situation, which by the way, happened again with one of her younger sons.
Sorry to tell you this, honey, but unless you find a friend who's willing to share some of their food with you, I don't think you're gonna be able to eat. But if you're not responsible for your lunch and your lunch money, that's the natural consequence. And I'm really sorry you're learning this the hard way. I will have a wonderful, yummy snack. Just hang in there today and just make up your mind. You're going to be really careful and make sure you grab your stuff when you go to school next time. And maybe you have a good friend who will share some of their sandwich with you or something. Russell, I'm really sorry. He sounded like he was going to cry.
Something else that really got a lot of backlash was another situation regarding her son. I believe I've talked about this a little bit in a previous video. Her older son was having some behavioral issues according to her and her husband, so they sent him to a camp in Anasazi.
Dad today has just entered the Anasazi Foundation Wilderness Therapy Program, where he's going to spend the next 8 to 10 weeks living in the
Anasazi Desert.
Yeah, the desert mountains of Arizona. And he'll be with counselors and other youth that are trying to figure some things out.
We got accused of child when we sent Chad to Anasazi. Guess what? The first thing that they did was take a bed away. They don't have beds. So Chad slept on the hard ground for months, and it's run by psychologists and therapists.
After he had returned home, there was a slight incident that occurred where he played a small prank on his younger brother, where he woke him up in the middle of the night to tell him that they were going to Disney World, only to say that no, he was just kidding, causing the younger brother to cry. This resulted in Ruby taking away his bed for months. He had to sleep on a beanbag chair for months.
If not having a bed was psychologically damaging, then they wouldn't have suggested that.
I had replaced my bed on my own free will with a beanbag couch. Not a chair, mind you, a couch. It was like 8 feet long. It was the comfiest thing I had ever experienced for like the first few weeks. Beanbag couches, beanbag chairs aren't meant to be beds, and I learned that the hard way after getting an MRI for chronic headaches and a whole bunch of other issues because I thought something was seriously wrong with me. But I found out it was because I was sleeping on the beanbag couch instead of a bed that supports your back. They're not meant to sleep on, especially for months at a time. It can cause actual health issues. If you are going to just use your children for your vlogs so you can make more money, and then you treat them like that, what the is wrong with you? Her and her husband did come out with a response to all of the backlash after this. That pissed people off even more. Basically blamed anybody who was upset about the situation to look inward and figure out what was wrong with themselves to be upset by it.
So we've learned through experience that when people get triggered or get upset by something, it usually is because that something means something.
I've been playing this ant game for 5 days, and I don't have any 5-star heroes. I can't
About them.
When really most people were just concerned about the mistreatment of this kid. They seem like they can't take any of the criticism that is thrown at them for the way that they had publicly displayed their parenting, by the way. I think she just kind of throws back any criticism that is given to her. She exploited her children, but she turned it around to say that other people were exploiting her children for sharing concerns about that.
Very many people have accused me of exploiting my children, and then those very people have turned around and exploited my children.
But to Mimi, all of this has already happened and it's been discussed so many times. Why now are you deciding to talk about it? Well, my dear viewers, come here, come a little closer. It gets a lot worse. We are beginning to see the consequences of parents exploiting their children for views on YouTube. And I predict that within the coming years, as more and more children from family vloggers grow older, this will be a more common theme. The days of family vlogging on the 8 Passenger channel are over. Ruby had done a rebranding and is now working with a program known as Connections, and this program seems to be really off. She is now offering advice to other parents, and the advice is very questionable, and she is partnering up with another person from Connections who goes by the name of Jody, and they both have a lot of interesting opinions and advice.
Your daughter is not losing control over her eating habits. Your daughter is choosing to be deceitful around her eating choices. And you're choosing to make this about the eating. I have news for you. This daughter does not have an eating problem. This daughter has an identity problem.
Anxiety, as horrible and debilitating as it feels, you still have choice. And that's one of the things that I am responsible for teaching my children.
My sister's child, I would say niece because that's how I know her as, but